Now over the years, clients have told me certain things they've done to control their weight has been effective for them. So what I've done is I've taken the most important points and I've put them into an eating plan which when followed has dramatic effects on your eating habits. But please remember that with this course that I want it to be flexible for you. So that doesn't mean you have to follow every single thing on the plan. Just follow the things that seem more relevant for you. So one of the first things my clients began to tell me was useful for them was getting into the habit of having 3 meals per day, breakfast, lunch and dinner. By eating 3 meals per day, they began to discover that they ate less and less snacks. The reason for this is because if you miss one of your main meals, and let's say it's the afternoon with a couple of hours still to go until dinner, you may then eat something quick and snacky just to see you through. By creating a habit of having 3 meals per day, you'll begin to discover that you'll feel full and satisfied throughout the day, and this will then reduce the amount of snacks that you eat. Now, as you know with this course isn't about following a diet, simply because diets don't work in the long term. However, if you do follow some kind of healthy eating plan, then you may reach your goal weight that little bit quicker. Ultimately, I want you to find what works for you and not which diet works best for you. Now, in order to find what works for you, it may take a little trial and error, because you may try something 1 week and discover that you put weight on. But rather than feeling disappointed, I want you to feel quite pleased, simply because you now know that something in your diet isn't working for you. By knowing this, you can then review the types of food that you've ate that week, and then make changes the following week. These changes will allow you to discover what types of food you can include into your diet and still show a reduction in your weight, which then means that you never have to follow a diet ever again. One of the things about diets is they just get you thinking about food all day. How many points are in this? How many calories does this contain? Is it a green day or a red day? People follow diets and wonder why they feel hungry all the time. The reason for this is because they're constantly thinking about food all the time. Now, when I say to my clients that I don't want them to diet, something amazing very often happens. My clients come in for their next appointment and tell me the urge to eat sugary or fatty foods has gone completely. The reason for this is because when you know that you can have something, 9 times out of 10, the urge to have it is no longer there. When you know you can't have something, then generally you want it more. Another thing that clients told me they found quite useful was to pick one place in their home where they'd eat their main meals. So if you have a dining room table, then use a dining room table to eat your meals on. For far too many people, when they're eating their meals at home, they sit in front of the telly. By eating in front of the telly means you're eating unconsciously and not really aware of what you're putting into your mouth. If you're not aware of what you're putting into your mouth because your attention is elsewhere, then you won't be aware of that feeling of fullness you get when you've eaten enough. By eating in one place in your home and limiting distractions will allow you to really concentrate on what you're eating. When you do eat, I want you to imagine yourself as a Michelin star chef. A top-of-the-range chef wouldn't go into a posh restaurant and order some food and just throw it down their neck. No, they would use all their senses when the food was brought to them. They'd look at how the food looks on their plate. They'd smell the food. They'd feel the texture of their food in their mouth. They would chew the food slowly and appreciate the different tastes of all the various foods. So the next time you sit down to eat one of your meals, think of yourself as a chef and appreciate the food that you're eating. Also, when you're eating, try not to drink any fluids until you're finished. The reason for this is because when you feel full, I want you to stop eating. There's no rewards for a clean plate. But what can happen though is if you are drinking whilst eating, you may get that feeling of fullness, but it may not be a true feeling. You may just be full because of fluids. At this point, if you did stop eating, you may then feel hungry again before your next regular meal, because that feeling you got wasn't because of a true feeling of fullness. Obviously, once you've stopped eating, you can then take a drink of water. Now, monitoring how much water you drink throughout the day can also be a very useful exercise for you to do, especially when it comes to controlling your weight. It's a good idea to try to drink at least 1.5 litres of water per day, more if it's warmer or you work in a warm environment. The reason why it's really important to drink water is because sometimes when you feel dehydrated, you may mistake that feeling for hunger. If you're drinking water at regular intervals throughout the day, then at least you will then know that if you do feel hungry, then it is a true feeling and not just because you're thirsty. Another reason why drinking water is so important is again because when you do feel dehydrated, you may develop an headache or feel lousy, and then use food to cheer yourself up. One thing I should have explained when I was talking about eating in one place in your home was something that clients again have found quite effective. They told me that not only was eating their main meals in one place in their home effective, but it was also effective even when eating snacks. Many people when they're watching TV may grab a snack to eat during the adverts or before a program is about to start, then sit down with the snack and eat it whilst they're watching TV. But what would the likelihood be of you snacking if you had to turn the TV off and go to the dining room table to eat your snack? A lot of clients, when they start to do this, tell me that they just don't bother having a snack because they'd missed the program, or it just isn't the same when they're sat at the dining room table. Plus, if you do have to go to your dining room table to snack, then it's going to give you time to really think whether you want that snack or not.